Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub. So now let's look at some questions on algebra. In particular, it's about polynomials. I'll be picking few questions from May, June and October, November 2025. So let's get started. That is the first question. The first question is from May, June 2025, variant 31. The polynomial is denoted by fx where p, q and a are constants and a does not equal to 0. Because if a equals to 0, the three terms will disappear. When fx is divided by x plus 2a, the remainder is negative 22a cube. When fx is divided by 3x minus a, the remainder is negative a cube. Find the value of p and q. So now it looks like a confusing question, but it's not, believe me. So now the very first piece of information that I have is that f of negative 2a, because x plus 2a equals to 0, x is negative 2a. When I plug it in fx, the remainder is negative 22a cube. That is the first piece of info. The second piece of info is when it's divided by this thing. In other words, x is negative a over 3. That's right over here. Actually positive a over 3 because it was already a negative over here. The remainder is negative a cube. That is the second equation. Now let's look at the working. Wherever there is x, you have to substitute negative 2a. So let me just show you the working. There it is substituted. Over here, it's being squared, it's being cubed. The rest is all algebra. And when you reach this particular stage, there is a cube, a cube, a cube. All along, a cancels out. So that is another way. A does not equal to 0 because when you divide by 0, things become undefined. So this is the first equation that you have. Now let's talk about the second equation. Again, we substitute it over here, over here, over here. There is squaring, there is cubing. Again, we have a cube all along. So now when we divide, that thing is gone. The a cube is gone. And this is the second equation, the simplified form. So equation 1. Equation 2, solve it simultaneous way. Your choice. You want to solve it substitution, you want to solve it using elimination, completely your choice. You get the value of p is 5 and the value of q is negative 4. So that is the first question. Let's move to the next one. So now it's in October, November. So October, November 2025, variant 32. Another question. This one was nicer. It is given that fx is x minus a whole square gx, where fx and gx are polynomials. Show that x minus a is a factor of f prime x. So it's like a conceptual question. So technically, this is u, this is v prime, this is v, this is u prime. So we don't know what is gx. Doesn't make a difference. So this thing over here, this is u, this is u prime. This is v prime, this is v. So now what can we take common out? We can take x minus a common out. And this is, let me just write one other term over here which is missing. So this is x minus a is on the inside bracket. It's multiplying with g prime x and this is gx over here. So now this is the blue one, that is g prime x, this is the blue one and this is remaining part of the red one. Now it says show that x minus a is a factor. Now if I plug in f of a, therefore a minus a, and this is a minus a, and this is, let me write this a properly, and this is g prime x plus gx irrespective of whatever gx is. If this thing becomes 0, everything becomes 0. So the remainder is 0. That means we have proven that yes, x minus a is a factor of f prime x. That is how this working is done. The next part. It is now given that x minus 3 whole square is a factor of this where p and q are constants. Find the value of p and q. Now you have to correlate. Isn't this fx like x minus a whole square into gx? So this is like x minus 3 whole square. That is a factor of this thing. So this is like your fx, this is like your gx. If it's a factor of this, it should also be a factor of f prime x. That is the a main thing in this particular question. Now look at comparing coefficient. So now this thing is a factor. So x minus 3 whole square is a factor. That means if I plug in 3, I get 0 if I talk about fx. So this is fx. And if I plug in 3, I get 0. In the original, I get the value of q. Similarly, f prime x is taken out. If I plug in 3 in the f prime, it should also equals to 0. We find the value of p is equals to negative 30. So make a habit of writing down the final answer. The final answer is p is equals to negative 30, q equals to positive 72. That's how this question is done. Let's move on. And then there is this question, the third one. This is October-November 2025, variant 33. A simple question related with quotient and remainder when this quartic equation, power 4 equation, is divided by a linear factor. Now we have the x4, we have the x square, x cube is missing, x is missing, constant is missing. Make a habit of writing it with the coefficient of 0. The coefficient is 0, that is why it is missing in action. So now take 3x power 4 divided by x, that is 3x cube. 3x cube into x, 3x cube into 1, you write it down. You change the sign and add. So now when I use the phrase change the sign and add, it means what? It means subtract. So that is how we do it. This cancels out. This is negative 3x cube. Pull one other term down. That is this thing over here. Apply the same process. Negative 3x cube over x, that is negative 3x square. These are the two terms that we are getting. Change the sign and add, you get x square. Again, pull this thing down. Even if it's as trivial as 0x, we want things to fall in line. That's the whole objective, organization. So x square over x, that is x, that's over here. You write it down, change the sign and add, and then you pull the very last thing down, that is 0. And yes, it's not a factor because they're asking for quotient and remainder. Maybe in some case the remainder could come out to be 0, no issue. But right now they want the remainder. So now this thing negative x over x is negative 1. We are left with the remainder of 1. Quotient is there, remainder is there. That is what this question is all about. So from May, June 2025 and October, November 2025, we have done some questions on polynomials. And there were 3 questions in total. Stay tuned for more content on Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub.